There we are. It's just coming up to 22 minutes past 6, so let's go back to some of those stories for you now. Death threats, verbal abuse and online intimidation. That's what people hoping to win a seat in the House of Commons could be dealt with during the general election. That's what some of them faced, the general election this year.
A survey of MPs by BBC Radio 5 Live suggests 87% of them suffered some form of abuse, with many saying this year's campaign was the worst ever. Our political correspondent Chris Mason has been studying those findings.
A defaced poster with a reference to Hitler, foul language and graffiti we've decided to blob out. Alex Shelbrooke has been a Conservative MP in West Yorkshire since 2010.
What I do think is noticeable in this election was the anger, the nastiness, the way that it was organised nastiness to a level that perhaps we hadn't seen before. Fascist Nazi scum being painted across a Conservative Party poster is just so far from the reality of what politics is about today that I worry that it's actually sending messages to young people of forgetting what Nazism and what fascism actually was about.
Ben Bradley is the first Conservative to ever win the seat of Mansfield in Nottinghamshire. He's given up on Twitter because of abuse and is stepping up security at his home.
Give me some sense of the kind of thing you had to put up with during the election campaign, which you felt strayed beyond what is legitimate political discussion.
I got, lots of phone calls where nobody on the end of it when I answered, lots of, bits through my door, which is quite scary in a way. Not so much for myself, but I got 2 young kids, so, I had a hand-delivered letter that it made a number of quite normal point in an aggressive way kind of policy points. It wasn't hateful, but it was hand delivered to my house and very very kind of critical, and you just think somebody has been walking down my driveway when my children are at home, which is kind of a scary prospect.
I've reported from here for over a decade and I've never met an MP who doesn't like a good argument, but the results of this survey by Radio 5 Live suggest stuff going way beyond that. Does a man coming into my office threatening to bomb it count, says one. Bottles smashed on me, says another. Windows put in 3 times. Threatened with being burnt to death.
I remember one day I'd received a fair bit of abuse from one particular site on Facebook, and I logged on. It's quite strange, there's almost like a compulsion to see what people are saying about you, because people often say don't look, but I find that hard. And somebody had mocked a picture up of me as a used sanitary towel, and I remember looking at it and just feeling absolutely revolted. And a few friends saw it and I felt angry.
Vandalism, abuse and threats, which some fear will put people off going into politics.
Well, our political correspondent Chris Mason, who was in that report, of course, joins us now for a bit more on this. Chris, good morning to you. What is actually going to be done about this?
Yeah, morning to you, Dan. We've spoken to the Commons authorities to get their response to this survey, and they recognise that the increasing levels of abuse are unacceptable, and they acknowledge that it is a growing problem, that it shouldn't be seen to be part of the job for MPs and their staff. There's been a real awareness after the murder of the Labour MP Jo Cox that this is more than just abuse that can be very easily dismissed, because MPs can very easily cast their mind back to very recent times when one of their number was killed whilst doing the job. So there is extra advice available for MPs in terms of their security and how they manage themselves online. In addition to that, there are people appointed, security advisors appointed, a named advisor for each MP who can pass on advice about security. On top of that, there's the distinction between MPs and how they operate when they're here at Westminster, and then their security when they're back in their constituencies. Now, regional police forces have a role to play here, but in addition to that, Parliament says it's appointed a contractor to help MPs who might want to install additional security measures at home. And speaking to a good number of MPs as I was compiling that report, plenty of MPs are doing just that. Now, for obvious reasons, a good number of them won't talk about the specifics of what they're doing, but the very fact that they feel that they need to gives you just some sense of how seriously they take this problem.
Chris, thank you very much for that. We'll speak more about that this morning later on.
Yeah, it's 6:26. You're watching Breakfast. Still to